I'm Alex Howard.
And I'm Amanda Silver, and this is Dirty Laundry.
And on today's episode, we have the most exciting person, and I'm so excited to be talking to them.
So excited.
I am like frenetically shaking in my seat.
Spilkus. It's a Yiddish term. Spilkus. It's just like you just don't know what to do with yourself.
That just sounds like an onomatopoeia because that's exactly what it is.
Well, it is.
It's like I can't even say the words. I'm so excited. Zach is a invisible labor coach. He talks about all of the things that predominantly women do in relationships. And as you and I know, this is what typically breaks down the relationship.
It really is at the core. When you take apart all the things that people said and did to each other, at the end of the day, I think it's this.
It is this.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Welcome to Dirty Laundry officially.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on. This is surreal to be chatting with you. And we're just so
delighted.
You
guys are giving me seemingly more love than I feel like I deserve. I'm starting to get butterflies with how
humble. You're
up
so humble.
No need for butterflies.
Yes.
Though, as I do tell my child, who has a lot of anxiety, excitement and nerves feel the same in the body. So you're just excited.
Okay.
This is also my inner monologue all of the time. You're just excited. You're just excited.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we are definitely excited. Enough for the three of us. So with that, Zach Watson, let's dive right in. How did you get onto this path? How did you become a recovering man-child?
You want the 34-minute version or the 7-minute version?
Ooh, I kind of want it all, but I don't want to be selfish.
We're here all day. So, you take your time.
I'll start with 2016. Self-published a book. I was a high school math teacher and wanted to put out like personal development content. Made a huge difference for me in my 20s. As I did that, I started making YouTube videos because I was like, I suppose that it's not going to sell itself. I need to make some content here. And then I fell in love with video content. My 8th graders and my freshmen, they loved their YouTubers. I was like, I guess I'll become a YouTuber.
Yeah.
In that time, I started getting really involved in it. And, the personal development type stuff got me into real estate. And so Alyssa and I, my wife, bought a multifamily house in Massachusetts. It was a 3-family, bought it. The 2 other tenants that were in there moved out and we're like, let's renovate this thing. Like, let's make it awesome.
Yeah.
And what I didn't have words for then, but I think I do now, is I created a ton of loneliness for her, and that I was still very much like, as I started enjoying making these YouTube videos, I was spending 30 to 90 minutes a day on it. And she started being like, what the hell? Didn't we just sign up for this like $500,000 investment that is now all falling on me? And there were these moments where, she would have preferences and then I wouldn't communicate about things, or she might communicate not enough, and then I would be like, oh yeah, I'll go handle that, get the wrong thing, and then I'd get a consistent negative feedback loop of I'm not doing enough. But I was then like, well, there was probably a little bit of weaponized incompetence in there, and that like I didn't know quite how to fulfill the need, but at the same time I was struggling to fulfill it. Either way, at some point we got separated in 2018. I was in fact a man-child. We would say that my trail name was man-child. And in that time, I did some self-reflection. Again, fair play didn't exist back then. This was 2018. But we ended up getting back together, and we got a dog first, to kind of practice some responsibility on my part. Again, what we were learning was how I could own some of the emotional, mental, and physical labor of a dog, such that I could eventually manage a child, and just see, like, is Zach even capable of doing that?
Right.
And so fast forward, so part of it wasn't quite an ultimatum, but she was like, dude, like, this YouTube thing, like, I get that you love it. It's a joy for you. It's also tearing us apart because you spend so much goddamn time on it. And it's not paying the bills.
Right.
Like, you can't, like I had 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I was like, okay, I need to scale that back. Like, is it Alyssa or is it fucking YouTube? So it's fast forward to 2020, and my students are all about TikTok, and they they're making these trash videos. And I'm like, you guys, what was that about?
Yeah.
How is it getting 57,000 views? I'm not used to getting more than 200 on a well thought out YouTube
Right,
video.
exactly.
That was
And
the problem,
so I
was
was
well
like,
thought out.
Yeah.
so early 2021, after TikTok started evolving from a dance app to like just another
Yes.
place people consume information,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm just going to commit to one video a work day in my car
Okay.
right when I get to work. So I started making TikTok content, and then our child was born in the summer, and I took 3 months of paternity leave, which
Mm,
I did not know at the time was unheard of.
right.
Most men take like 2 weeks or nothing.
Yeah.
Um, so in that time, I had my first two really popular videos. One was me talking about the sixth S,
Mm,
that no one trains you in the birthing classes of smell.
mm,
I discovered that putting my wife's shirt over my shoulder helped our child fall asleep.
mm.
And then the other one was me, I call it a Karen catcher, which was, it was a minute long video. I didn't purposefully like make them think something, but a lot of people were convinced in the way that I told the story, that from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. that we weren't feeding our newborn.
Oh, funny.
So a bunch of people jumped in the comment section like, "Feed that baby,
Yeah.
you're starving it." I'm like, Did you not read the text and the 15 seconds later? Um, so that kind of jumped me from, couple thousand following on TikTok to like 80,000
Oh,
semi
Wow.
overnight.
yeah.
It was over a couple weeks. And so that was when I started talking generally about fatherhood.
Mm,
And while while I was talking about fatherhood, I also realized I was kind of using my child as a prop, which I have a lot of
mm,
shame about, recognizing that like, oh, like get a lot of views when,
mm,
I'm swaddling her in a video here. And I figured she's kind of unrecognizable as a
Mm.
newborn to what
right.
she'll eventually look like. And then at some point I think it was Mother Uncharted,
Mm,
Sarah, I forget her last name, but I think I saw one of her videos, like, "Oh, man, I gotta stop." So, I went cold turkey, I stopped putting our child in videos, and my following went to a grinding halt. I think I gained 150 followers over the next 9 months.
oh,
Oh, wow.
wow.
Um, so I was stuck at 82,400 for about 9 months on TikTok,
I love that's like
and
burned into your memory,
Yeah.
that
it's
very specific
That
number.
number.
painful. Especially when you're like all of a sudden you've just gone through this crazy growth.
Yeah. You got that
And for
dopamine
like,
hit of all the good.
yeah,
Yeah, those likes, look
right?
at the attention. I
It's
like
those ups
this.
and downs.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
Social media,
validated,
it's so hard. You really have to have like a strong stomach for it.
Yeah.
yeah. And so like I think also because Roe v. Wade was
Mm,
overturned, and I was like all of a sudden I really felt like I didn't have a voice
yeah.
in the niche
Mm,
that I kind of discovered, which was, it was a mixture of like dad content and
mm,
like kind of speaking up on
mm,
behalf of women, sort of.
mm.
Again, didn't have like this invisible labor vocabulary
Right.
in my lexicon yet. Um, Summer 2022, I asked my audience, like, what book should I read next? I just read RGB,
Mm,
and they said, you should read Fair Play by Eve Rodsky.
mm.
So for anyone that doesn't know that,
Oh,
it's a
she's
New York
nice.
Times bestseller. The Fair Play method is based off of it. I started reading it. A huge part of like my TikTok brain up until then had been reading audiobooks,
Mm,
sharing the takeaways from the
mhm,
chapters and or how I was trying to implement them. And I started sharing, all right, we're having our first meeting to implement the fair play cards. This is like a moment where I'm recognizing she does more than I do, which I had not considered before.
mm,
And then, one video I was saying, I think I just added some mental load for my wife. I said, What do you want to put on her for jammies tonight?" 2-year-old. And I was like, wait a second, I could have picked that out. I guess I could have chose that.
yeah.
And that hit like 100,000 views, which for me at the time was like I was getting like one of those a month.
Wow.
Um, I was like, well, I guess I should do that again. So
Mhm.
the next day, I identified. I was like, oh, you know what? I think it was the example of where I added mental load for my wife, part infinity, and then I said she was going down for a nap, and I said, should we do milk or water because she
Mm,
was kind of sick. Normally it would be milk, but figured that would be weird. And I was like, you know what, Zach, like what we could have done was instead just say, let's do water because X, Y, and Z reasons. and my wife could have pushed up against
Mm.
that. I would not have guessed that that video hit 6.4
Mm.
million views on TikTok
Amazing.
and doubled my following
Yeah.
in about a month. And what any
Wow.
good content creator does, they keep talking about the same shit. So
Yep.
um, today I'm on part 326, I think, of the mental load series.
Wow.
But the first
Amazing.
first 2 months, I just kept talking about it and kept learning. And I think as I kept making videos and getting a lot of feedback from my audience on what I was getting right and what I was getting
Mm.
wrong, I tried to just keep diversifying the examples that I was giving
Mm.
so that people could use it in their everyday. I
Yeah.
recognize a huge part of being a math teacher and being a teacher in general is that language is super powerful.
Mhm.
And when we can label things a little bit differently, we can articulate them better,
Yes.
we can communicate them better, and we
Yes.
we have more empathy for ourselves and our partners and our my students.
Yes. Name it to
Um,
tame it. You
Yeah.
got it.
so, ooh, I haven't heard that one
Oh,
before. That's good.
yeah.
She's full of sayings.
I like a little idiom.
I'm like,
Yeah, the
I'm
second you can label it, then
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I can make sense of this. Now I can do research. Now I can ask for help. Now I can
yeah,
really be
I can
specific
tame
about
it.
what the problem is. Yeah. Name it to
Like that
tame
one.
it.
yeah.
For
And
us, a
so,
lot of inner monologues that need taming.
so a couple months in, I was on part 50 or something. I started getting a lot of like I was starting to field questions that people started seeing me as a credible
Mhm.
voice for this. And they were like, "Can you like make something to explain to my husband so I don't have like the videos were very I was aiming to be kind of shareable.
Yeah.
And up until then, I had been not super kind to other men. I was just kind
Mhm.
of saying like, listen to me, like I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
Stop being an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I got my first coach. I had about a quarter million followers across platforms at this point. I was like, I think like I can't coach women. They're like, I have nothing to teach them.
Right.
Sure,
They
some
just know it
vocabulary, but
all
They're
that's not
not the
the
already.
problem. Yeah.
No. No.
so that's just me highlighting what their problems are. It's
Yeah.
not solving any of them. So I wanted to coach men. I had
Love
worked
it.
with men before for goal setting, but
Mm.
not necessarily this style. So my coach encouraged like make a $40 one-on-one coaching call. I was like, man, you're crazy. And it was this Stone Fredrickson on TikTok. He's 19-year-old kid. I was like, no one's gonna pay me
Yeah.
$40 to tell them about mental load. You're crazy. I was like, okay, I'm paying you a stupid amount of money to tell me what to do, so I'll do it. I got my first couple clients in 2023, and then a couple viral videos later, and a comment from Kristen Bell on one of my videos, and a CNN article.
Amazing.
Um, I I had I got enough clients at one point. I was like, I think I can leave my sales job.
Wow.
Um, and I had been a teacher
I was
for a
gonna say,
while,
yeah.
and then after my parental leave, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I switched over to a remote or hybrid sales
Yeah.
job. So I made a career pivot to
Mm.
try to work for our family, which a lot of people also kind of appreciated that. And so then I made the jump early 2024.
Amazing.
I started coaching full time, and I've been doing this full time for about a year and a half now.
It's nice to hear the slow growth. Like, I think that's reassuring to a lot of people that are in this line of work, right? Content
Yeah,
creating and coaching and all that stuff. We come across loads of them in what we do. And from the outside, it is an overnight success. But it wasn't. It was like a good solid, 5 years of growth, of,
yeah,
pivoting and iterating and getting feedback. And what I like about you, and I want to go back if you're open to it,
sure.
is you actually are okay to be vulnerable and you're okay and you're open-minded. And whether that's from just, the constant wanting to, as you alluded to early on, read really, a lot of books and have that sort of growth mindset. So you're clearly already in that world. But I'm picturing, your maybe not then wife. I can't remember when you said you were
Melissa.
separated for the first time, but when Alyssa was like, okay, this is not working out and you did a separation, to be able to come back and go, okay, you're right. I was not contributing this much, or I was hindering, and putting more on you, just to be I don't know, vulnerable enough to do that is so
huge. And to put the ego aside.
Yeah.
I think the ego, to me, is like the number one thing that gets in the way.
Yes.
Right? It's you're able to put that aside and actually look at yourself and what you were responsible for and take accountability for your role in the breakdown of the relationship at the time.
So can you share, like, what was that part like? And then finding your way back to one another?
I'll say for anyone that is about to get into a separation, or they're in the waters of considering it, I would say one thing that we did really well was that we set like a pretty clear parameter. So huge part of what I work with my clients is the fair play method, and really what it is, it's just setting clear parameters around household work, around the thinking, the ownership of things. That's kind of what we did going into a separation. So we had a half renovated house. We went to a counselor. He told us to consider selling it, which would have taken like a $50,000+ bath. That would have sucked.
Oof,
but
yeah.
either way, it was like, okay, like we decided no strings attached. We were going to be like fully separated. We said at first it was I could live in the house. She was going to live with her parents, and her dad were going to do a lot of the work. And she wanted me out of there whenever they were doing work. I was fine with that. At some point that changed to like, actually, Zach, can you go live with your parents so that I can stay there since I'm doing a bunch of this physical and mental labor here? And then we debated on, should we go to my cousin's wedding, which was, I think, about 2 months into the 3-month agreement that we had.
Okay.
And we hadn't seen each other at all really, and got back to the wedding and like talked, and we didn't realize how much we missed each other kind of, and that ended up being kind of what brought us back together. But there's also another very manipulative person. I would say she ended up they were kind of undermining me and kind of feeding and manipulating her on the side, sort of. So that was not a great contributor. Part of it was that she kind of discovered what kind of a person that was, and then a lot of the dislike of what I still take full accountability for what I did, and I think I probably seemed maybe 1.5 times worse, maybe 5 times worse than how I actually was. But
no, we do caution, like, careful who you allow in your inner circle to influence, especially at a precarious time, like, considering separation.
But that's common, that there are outside influencers, and they could be cheerleaders, but they can also be the opposite.
And she may have had the best of intentions, but you really...
Or sometimes not.
Well, fair.
I'm like, she's like...
You're always the realist.
I'm always... I'm like, no, she didn't have good intentions. Look how amazing he is. Why would she say anything negative?
So you set a 3-month parameter. That was... You were like, we're gonna separate for 3 months and then reconvene and see how it goes. Amazing.
Yeah. I'm always curious about how that works.
I know, me too.
And how people come back and like reconcile and work on things. And sometimes it can be a catalyst for change. Which obviously it was.
And I went on a meditation retreat. I committed to stop drinking. I would say one sad thing that happened was, feels uncomfortable saying, I got back to watching porn, which was not good for me. And I would say that I've definitely dealt with an addiction to that since I was about 13. And I had done great in not watching it for years while we were together, and then it came back in during the separation. It took another probably 2.5, 3 years for me to stop that again. But I do think like I'd committed to not drinking. I'd committed to not doing any like heavy drug usage. And doing the meditation retreat, I visited, cousins and family members that I thought had my best interests at heart and would help me be, and not like, share their agenda with me necessarily, but like just help be a good guide for intrinsic like self-reflection. And I think I found a good set of people to talk with and visit during that time.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. It is not easy. And we see so much of that. When things get hard, people want to turn to whatever vice, right? Whatever numbs them. If it's not alcohol or drugs, it's social media or it's online shopping or it's whatever. And that is probably the most important time to stop those, to actually sit in your emotions and deal, because you're making, you ultimately you two got back together, but you're making incredible important financial and life decisions for your children. And if you are relying on, substances or something to get through. Anyways, I just think a lot of our listeners can really benefit from hearing you say that. So thank you, because it's not always easy to share that.
But they're not alone.
They're not alone.
Their struggle is real,
It's
and
so
a lot of
common.
people share that struggle.
Yeah.
And so then you pivoted, your sort of whole life pivoted into this sort of awareness, this awakening that you had about, I guess, the mental load, about parenting, about mothers, fathers. Like, how did that shift happen?
I would say, I think when I realized that taking 3 months of paternity leave was pretty abnormal, and Alyssa had a terrible time sleeping, and like we both had a lot of mental health problems in the first like month of parenthood, and there are a mixture of times where I was like, would you be okay with me sharing about your postpartum depression, your postpartum anxiety, your mastitis that you're going through?
Oh,
Like,
God.
Ugh, been there.
Just hearing that word brings me back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had nothing to do but survive and keep this small thing alive.
Yep. Yeah.
And that was like the only way I'm keeping my sanity is Squid Games.
So good.
Was it American Horror Story 1984? Making TikTok videos and playing Madden on my phone and builder bars. That was what was keeping my life together.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of moments where I was getting a bunch of attention for a couple different videos. The other triggering thing about the other viral one of me, the Karen Ketcher one, was it hit 5 million.
Wow.
And our newborn was like crying throughout the whole 50 seconds of it. So it was like,
Interesting.
I imagine for a lot of people, it's pretty triggering and created a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, I mean, I would say that probably launched me into that mode. And the bigger message in the 50-second video is like, thank you, moms, for the sacrifice that you're making, especially if you're choosing to breastfeed.
Right.
The pain of this moment here while my child's crying in my ear is not her crying. It's knowing that Alyssa expects me to go in there and wake her up if she's only had 45 minutes of sleep, because our agreement was that if I couldn't calm her down in 10 minutes, then I had to go get her. And she was really committed to not using formula.
Yeah.
So that right there, I think a lot of women felt really seen in the sacrifices that they're made. And I think that was a pretty pivotal video and response. And I think I did a live stream that week. I would live stream for an hour at the beginning of my 7 p.m. shift, and just like chat with people and make new friends. And I remember one time, I think it hit 32,000 people were watching me at one time,
And alive.
because our child was crying, and I decided to try to calm her down in real time on there.
Interesting.
Which, looking back on it, ethically a little in the gray area of like kind of using your child for
I don't know. I hear what you're saying, and
But you were doing it anyways.
But
You're
you're-
just sharing what
well,
you
you're-
would be doing anyways. You would have been spending that 10 minutes trying to calm her down. Lots of people do cry it out for different reasons. And, you're just sharing a window into what you would be doing. You weren't, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I like the honesty of it. I think, especially on social media, we're bombarded with bullshit messaging, right? And so some real, real reality, like just
the ugliness.
Yeah,
It's you know what it is? It's the ugliness of real life that people don't share on social media. Like new moms, especially on social media, I think have such an expectation to glamorize, like, oh, this is just the biggest blessing and everything's perfect and I'm so refreshed and like breastfeeding, no problem, it's easy and I'm
so
like,
natural. We're born to do it.
Look at that. My body's just giving the baby what it needs, and like it's just for women who are struggling making the milk or getting their baby who's maybe colicky to sleep or getting their husband to actually get up and help. Like this reaches them, I think, which is so refreshing.
You're giving a voice to those that are typically unseen and unheard. And I think that's why it had 36,000, people. Is like all of those people could identify with you at that moment. And that's incredible. And it's coming from a man often, right? We're getting this messaging just from other moms, and they can be really judgy and really, people are for the most part, I think when you have a kid, you're like, this is what we're doing and every other way is wrong. then you have it and you're like, oh dang, this is just survival. And what we're doing today may not be what we're doing tomorrow. And so I think a lot of it also is giving permission for trial and error to figure out, hey, how is this baby different than this one and yesterday and it's going to be tomorrow? And we have to be constantly changing. And with that, right, you do need to share in that load. So how did you decide sort of dividing things up, and maybe how do people fall into these patterns of not preemptively deciding on sort of whose job is what?
I'm going to share a little bit of like the journey that we've gone with Fair Play Method. So when we first broke out the cards, which I'm at my parents' house right now, I don't have woodling, but the first exercise is looking at all the general responsibilities that exist in your home, kind of dividing them between the ones that like are relevant to your family and what aren't. I call this the 51% activity. It's a little bit different than the way she coaches us in the book. So I say, I want you to take ideally a short period of time, like 15 minutes, and just say, who owns 51% of the card? So baby feeding, easy. That's definitely Alyssa.
Yeah.
Trash, I definitely own 51% of that.
Right.
Dishes, that might have been a 30-second conversation. We think we can give that one to Zach. So ideally just identify who generally owns stuff.
Right.
From there, and I think where a lot of couples, especially if they're familiar with the Fair Play Method, is they'll get the cards without reading the book. So a lot of the things fall flat, and they also don't have good structure for consistent iterative conversations on these things. So I'm coaching people to have a weekly meeting ahead of time, get that under their belt and get used to having that, and then add this like next level conversation about chores and splitting up labor. And so one of the things that I tell people is like, one, you're not going to get results overnight necessarily in terms of volume of labor. I do believe from a empathetic standpoint, you can kind of get results overnight, because sometimes you just like, I think when I was making those videos and sharing in real time, I think I just added mental load for my wife. Like I was growing probably exponential empathy for her because I was seeing really quickly where it was showing up fucking everywhere. Which I didn't have language for, couldn't name it, couldn't tame it, couldn't identify it. And so it was really hard to see that. So I encourage the guys, look at your pile. And if we think about all of the cards that exist, you have tabs open, like on your Chrome tab here. I'm looking at my computer. I have like 17 of them open. All the cards that she has, those are tabs. All the cards that you don't own 100% of, like a full 100% of, she also has tabs open for that. So my encouragement is not necessarily to take one of the cards that she has and try to own it, but instead, let's take one of the tabs she has open on your card. Like for me, it was trash and dishes. How do we close out that tab for her effectively? So for me, trash, I was doing 100% of the bringing it outside, putting it into the bin, putting it to the curb. I was doing 15% of the remembering to do it and doing it on time. So we kind of translate that probably into maybe 20% of the total load of it. We'll give the physical a good portion of it and say, okay, what does Zach need to do with his ADHD to structurally remember to do this? So when I first started out, I had 3 alarms set for Monday to get it out for Tuesday morning.
Right.
And I remember it was a win for me the first time I got up and did it on the first of the 3 alarms. Huge win for me. Didn't share that with Alyssa, shared it with the internet. Shared it with my, the guys that I was working with. But that became a big win because we got it from 80% to 100%. Alyssa doesn't have to think about it more. She doesn't feel the need to remember it. Now, there could be some trust issues there. That's totally fair because I've been underperforming. I haven't been owning it. She's been reminding me for God knows how long since we moved there. So one of the goals that we have from there is, okay, building trust. And in that weekly meeting, say, hey, I've been using my alarms. I've been doing it. You still asked and or reminded me, hey, did you bring them out? And I said, yes. I would love it if you would trust me this week and not say anything and just let me be. She might not be ready for that, and that's okay. And we'll give it another week and another week until she feels the trust. Like, okay, I can close that tab out because it's scary closing that tab. I know for me, especially if I have a new, like my general reminder system to do stuff is not great. It's either keep a tab open or keep my email unread, or
Same.
if it's a Instagram DM, it's keep the DM unread.
Unread, that's me.
Sometimes it ends up 17 DMs low, and you're like, shit. My system's falling apart. So
yes, it's totally my system.
There's some fear in, if I didn't respond to that message, or if I know the ball is now in their court, there's some fear in leaving that unread. There's some fear in closing out the tab. And I get that. It's going to take a little bit of time for that. So that's a huge encouragement I have for couples is as the guy's taking on that last, 20, 10, 5%, is to give her permission to not feel comfortable with that and give it a couple weeks before she's effectively not thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then the next one was dishes. I was probably doing it 90% of the time. Again, it was her asking me to do it typically at the end of the night. And I remember one night I got up from the couch and I was like, I'm going to go do the dishes to myself. And then she turns to me. We don't have a kid yet. She says, honey, can you do the dishes? I was going to do it. I was going to own full emotional conception of owning it. And she didn't she still felt like she needed to share it with me. So that is like one of those moments where I was probably really close to owning 100% of it that night. And I probably almost felt like it was worthy of a pat on the back. But the goal is for me to then say, okay, you know what? Dishes are just mine. You don't have to remind me. This is the expectations, is a standard operating procedure that we're going to go with. Can we agree on that? And we've moved a couple times in the last couple of years. Back in February, we brought that one back to the table. It was a new setting. And we iterated on dishes for 3 weeks. So the first one was Zach owns all of it. And what kept happening is if I was helping with bedtime and bath time with our 4-year-old, that I would be really tired because I would end up rubbing her back for 5 minutes and then I'd be really sleepy. I'm like, I just want to go to bed. And I would get back out to the kitchen after she'd gone down and be like, oh, I gotta do the dishes. And during bath time is typically when it gets done. And so I was kind of skipping on it. And so we came to our weekly meeting. She's like, this is not working for me. Like it needs to be done. I'll tell you what, if you do bath time, then I'll do dishes. Yeah, actually have to do both and I'll do dishes. I was like, okay, that works.
Yeah.
And I think that week she had been kind of sick. So she's like, can you deal with our child? And then she did not follow through on her end of the deal. And so we came back to our meeting and said, okay, so this is the iteration we made. That didn't work. Do you want to iterate on the rules or do you want to try to recommit to yourself? And she's like, yeah, actually, I don't want to do the dishes. You stay with it. So then we went back to me owning it and we set sort of a cap for it has to be, the expectation is that it's done by 10 a.m. the next morning if I'm helping out with bedtime. And then we're like, okay, that works.
And it works.
And now we can move on to our next standard operating procedure.
Yeah.
This episode was written and created by Alex Howard and Amanda Silver, produced, edited, and engineered by RTF Productions. Make sure to rate and review our show if you loved it, and give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you stream your podcast to stay up to date on all upcoming episodes. Thanks for listening, and go easy on us. We're not your ex.